everyone. It's Christina Herrick, host of Tip at the Iceberg and produce editor for The Packer. And I'm here with another episode, and we're going to be talking a little bit about trends in food. So joining me today is Cristie Mather, Vice President of the Food Team at Curious Plot. Thanks for joining me, Cristie.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really exciting conversation. I'm looking forward to getting some insights into what you've learned and obviously provide our listeners with as much information as possible. So why don't you get started? Tell me a little bit. Let's start at the beginning. Let's start with the Curiosity Report. How do you survey shoppers? Where are you getting this information from? Why? All that.
Yeah. So being from Curious Plot, curiosity is inherently in our DNA. And when it comes to informing the campaigns that we put into play for our clients, we really want to get grounded in truth. And that involves, studying consumer curiosities, studying consumer research. And we decided to conduct our own consumer research. And that is manifested in the Consumer Curiosity Report. So, we know that as marketers, access to consumer research can really inform it can be a roadmap essentially to show us where we're going and how we're going to get there. And, consumer research can really clarify all of that for us. And we wanted to get into the minds of the early adopter consumer, which are the consumers that really identify trends in the making. So when we conducted our own consumer research, last year was the first year that we conducted it. We looked for consumers that are interested in trying new things and consumers that are, when it comes to food, they're very engaged, whether they, whatever they watch, read, scroll, it has something to do with food. So they're consuming a lot of food content and they enjoy cooking and they enjoy going out to eat and they participate in food festivals and things like that. So when we developed our rationale for the Consumer Curiosity Report, we surveyed 850 of these early adopter consumers that qualified, within these categories, all across the nation, all generations, all income levels, and really zeroed in on their thoughts in three areas: culinary, nutrition, and sustainability, which are really the common pillars that we work with when we're talking about our clients' products. So once we got our hands on the research for the first time last year, we couldn't keep it to ourselves. So we made it available for free for all food marketers, and it's on our website for anyone to download at curiousplot.agency.
That's really awesome. So, I know we're going to go into more detail on this, but maybe start off with just giving us a teaser. Are there some noticeable trends or changes year to year, or some things that you think are particularly worth calling out?
Yeah, year over year, the top curiosities really remain consistent in many ways. But we did have a new number one top curiosity this year when compared to last year. And we saw that these early adopter consumers are really looking for easy meals that can be made under 30 minutes or less. That was the number one thing that they're looking for information about and resources about. Cooking skills and tips, not surprisingly, even early adopters are kind of looking to hone their skills. That was the number one last year, but that actually fell to number 6 this year, which was surprising to us. So really that 30-minute meal is really at the top. Like I said, even for these very sophisticated foodie consumers.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The findings that you had about that 30-minute meals. I've been doing a lot of stories on convenience, and convenience is king. So that kind of dovetails. It is interesting that maybe recipes fell a little bit. So maybe, it seems like people want faster and maybe not those long, elaborate, those meals, which kind of makes sense, but is also kind of an interesting shift, I think, in where we are now.
Yeah, I mean, it's still within the top, those
True.
things are still within the top curiosities. It's just surprising that the order changed a little bit. And we did have another item, a new topic that really emerged in the top 10 and even became number 2. And that was tips for eating on a budget. So we know that even these really, food lifestyle oriented early adopter consumers, they're also looking for, quick, easy, and affordable meal solutions. So it's really interesting to say that, even that so we would say a resource for folks that are using this research could say, like, we want to create meals that are affordable and can be made in 30 minutes or less. So maybe 10 ingredients or less, a lesser investments, really thinking about things and from that point of view.
That's a good point, and probably too, thinking putting on my non-existent produce retailer hat, but I'm trying to really think about that. You probably would want, if it's grab and go, that convenience, cutting down on prep time, making sure it's obviously, like you said, it's affordable, so it's hitting that marker as well. But you probably want to make it something that if someone's going to the grocery store to prepare, it's stuff they can grab kind of quickly and they don't have to
Yeah.
go all the way across the store to grab and find, or you can help them locate it better, things like that. I think kind of keeping that convenience in mind too, I think would be interesting.
Yeah, I think even the most, sophisticated foodie consumer, knowing that they want this quick and easy meal, it means that your best shoppers are also shopping, fresh cut retail food
Yeah,
service, whatever it takes for them to get in and out of the store and to save time and energy when it comes to preparing their meals. And I think that those departments really provide some of the best opportunities to engage these shoppers. So really think about too, another curiosity is global flavors, innovation. We know that these folks are inspired by new and interesting ways to prepare things. And so how does that really inspire innovation within fresh cut? Are there new things that you can put within that department and in addition to retail food service? So really interesting to think about how these shoppers are looking for both convenience, but they also like to explore and try new things. So what does that
yeah,
inspire?
that's really interesting. And then I think when I was doing my research, another thing too is, I think, was it health benefits was another big kind of, I don't know, curiosity, I guess. So so now we're hitting. So we want it fast, we want it affordable,
Yep.
and then we also want it to be healthy. So thinking about all of that, how did the produce department kind of capitalize on a lot of those things in a way that, and other than what you've already suggested, in a way that kind of hits on all of that at once, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we think about health, one of the things in our survey that we uncovered is that, the idea of food as medicine is not necessarily relegated to the older consumers.
Yeah.
Gen Z and millennials are also very interested in, the health aspects and the functional benefits of the foods that they eat. So our survey showed that about 70% in each of these areas, foods with cognitive benefits, foods that improve gut health, and foods that are immunity boosting really showed as the top of what consumers are interested in when it comes to nutrition and functional benefits of eating foods. And so when we see that millennials and Gen Z are also interested in nutrition as much as those older generations, it really means that we can have a broad campaign that talks about health and wellness and nutrition benefits and the functional aspects of the foods that we eat. So one campaign can actually serve many audiences with that nutrition messaging, which really makes for interesting and efficient campaigns. As a food marketer, you're really trying to think of your target audiences and how you reach them and what messages you reach them with. And knowing that this, idea of food as medicine is really broad, has a broad appeal to so many generations, it allows you to be, really smart and efficient with your campaigns. And really, if you have the opportunity to plug into gut health and cognitive benefits and immunity boosting benefits, if your products qualify for that, you're really being able to plug into the trends and the things that are already, being exhibited as curiosities for these, early adopter consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was thinking about, just a long time ago, how blueberries got nicknamed rainberry, right? And that berries were kind of known. And so that just kind of tapped into that cognitive health aspect. So yeah, it is interesting. To, obviously we're talking about fresh produce, the types of displays and things like that are going to be in the fresh produce department. So yeah, helping the retailer understand that capitalizing on the health benefits of the products that are involved, as well as how do you prepare it, how do you prepare it
Yeah.
quickly. All of that is all important. It is interesting that that's kind of everything that you're seeing consumers want, because that's a lot of obviously what I want and a lot of people want. So kind of interesting to see that your survey is kind of reflected in that.
Yeah. And I would say when you're talking about preparing, another like the third top finding after easy 30-minute meals and, budget friendly meals is that we saw that, what is it? 73% of consumers are looking for new and interesting ways to prepare vegetables.
Interesting.
So, and 59% are looking for new and interesting ways to prepare fruit, right? So, what does that mean at the display, and what kind of inspiration can you provide for consumers? Because retailers are really, they're right there when the consumer is making that final purchase decision.
Yeah.
And how can we help, make their lives easier? How can we provide, simple recipes and preparation tips that meet them where they are with this desire to find new ways to prepare these, fruits and vegetables? So, especially for an impulse purchase when maybe you have, your main dish and you're like, I need a veggie side or I need something for that, it just make it really easy to kind of seal the deal with them because they're endlessly curious about this.
Yeah, and a lot of the what's great about fresh produce is that there's a lot of flavor options. So yeah, I think you were talking a little bit about the consumers wanting to try some different flavors and things like that. So a lot of these vegetables and fruit, you can prepare them in different ways that really adds, lends itself to different flavors, and it lends itself to something new.
Yeah.
But also can be prepared quickly, which is also great. So yeah.
Yeah, I think another thing that really surprised us in the survey this year is, and I think it'd be very interesting to retailers in particular, is 54% of consumers, of these early adopter consumers, like to explore new foods at home. So they want to, the other option is 26% say that they prefer to explore new foods at restaurants. And then another 20% say that they don't, have a preference. They'll try new
Hmm.
things at home or at restaurants. But when you really think that more than half, as
Yeah.
opposed to trying something new at a restaurant, they want to explore at home. Think about how we can inspire them to try something new within the produce department. There is an interest in that, and they definitely have that desire to explore and find the new best thing. These are the shoppers that brought us avocado toast and made kale a thing, So I mean, it's a way to really get them to think about things new and be the first among them for their friends to try something new. But I was really surprised to see because when I think about myself, I might be more adventurous at a restaurant. They're going to know how to prepare something new, or like, oh, what is this? What is this new veggie that I'm not familiar with on my plate? But folks are really curious and they're looking at the produce department for inspiration.
That's interesting. Yeah, maybe it's just a simple fact that, there's less pressure. If you're at a restaurant, you gotta tell a waiter whether you like some, or waitress whether you like some food or not, or you're with someone else generally. So there may be some social pressure of having to eat a vegetable either you don't like, or all of that, or deciding, and so you just try to go with something where at home you could kind of really experiment and try and do things different. I don't know. It would be kind of interesting to find out the why. Although, for our viewers and listeners, it's not really the why. It's more, this is a place you can capitalize on. So try to work on your promotions and side by side offerings, and in the way that you put together the produce department to really shine a light on some of those vegetables that maybe encourage a unique or a new purchase, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So you were talking a little bit about some of the surprising results. Is there anything else that really stands out to you that you think would be of interest to our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting where people find their inspiration. So
Yeah.
we looked at where different generations find their inspiration. And, number two for all generations is friends and family, that word of mouth,
Hmm.
hearing things from friends and family. And number one is social media across
Yeah.
all generations, right? So You can see that be a little bit wider for the younger generations, and it shrinks a little bit as we get to boomers. But still, it's 26% are looking to social media to inform their decisions. And I think too, for the friends and family aspect, it gets a little bit wider as the generations get older. But still, consider social media as a great outlet to reach out to shoppers, your target audiences, no matter what generation that they may be.
Well, yeah, and we're talking about how do you prepare a vegetable or how do you prepare a fruit.
Yeah.
Social media is great for that. Maybe not necessarily more the text-based social media platforms, but all the video-based, anything visual. I mean, that's a perfect place to highlight. If you've got something new, you can talk about it. You can talk about how to prepare it,
Yep.
how to clean it, cut it, whatever the case might be. That might be something that would stop someone. And again, part of the survey findings that you said is that you've got this captive audience. You've got these consumers that want to try something new.
Yep.
So, the best thing you can do is help inform them on how to prepare, what to do, how to utilize the particular piece of produce, which will then hopefully create some return purchases on said produce.
Absolutely. I mean, I think people are really looking for those basic cooking tips.
Yeah.
Last year that was our number one. And again, these are very sophisticated, trend setting foodie consumers. And still, last year they really were looking for just cooking tips and tricks,
Yeah.
hacks, ways to process produce and what they're going to eat. So, I think, and this year, 30 minutes or less, it's all about simplicity and making things easy, providing everyday solutions, and with a side of exploration, still keeping it exciting, but allowing people to really enjoy the produce that's on their plate, teaching them new ways to, stay engaged and learn new things. And, I think that there's a lot that we can do to support that, especially with the content and the campaigns that we're putting out there. Think about getting in the mindset of these shoppers and what kind of curiosities can you satisfy for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've kind of hit the end of my questions, but this is one that I think is probably a big question, might be a lot. So I wanted to give you some time and space to answer it. So thinking about all of the survey results we've kind of talked about, what thinking of that, what are some big takeaways that or advice that you would give retailers to kind of help them shape their produce department, shape their marketing of the produce?
Mhm.
What's the best way to take the findings that you have and use it to their advantage?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of taking inventory of what you know about your shoppers' particular curiosities and evaluate to see if you're addressing those themes that you're seeing out there. This research that we again make available for free on our website, curiousplot.agency. Download the research and really think about how it applies to your shoppers and what do the insights that you see in there, mean to how you structure your food marketing plans. I mean, again, research can be a roadmap, and we're really proud to be making this available for free to food marketers as a means to really uplift the entire produce category.
Yeah, no, that's a good point to take the information that you have and then kind of cross check against your known consumers, because yes, retailers have a lot of data on who their shoppers are and their shopper behavior. So kind of seeing where those align, and then also looking, maybe there might be some opportunities within there to maybe engage different segments that maybe are consumers and are your customers, maybe aren't your number one, and maybe a way to drive some more sales that way. So yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah, glad it was helpful.
Yeah, so I mean, is there anything else about the survey that you'd want to share with our listeners and viewers that I didn't ask about?
I think it's very rich in all kinds of information. You can see all the top curiosities that bubble to the top if you download the report, within the areas of culinary, within the area of nutrition, within the area of sustainability as well. And just see what rises to the top and understand how you can use that as information to inform the campaigns that you have.
Yes, and I know we'll link to the ways to get the survey and get the results. But why don't you just tell our listeners, anyone who's maybe not watching this, how can, if they're interested, how can they find the survey results?
Yeah, just go right to our website at curiousplot.agency. And you'll see it right at the top of our website, and click and download. And again, it's totally free.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. I always say this podcast, it lives up to its name. It really is just tip of the iceberg. I feel like we're just getting a little taste of the survey, which is good. I don't want you giving away everything. I want people to actually download and have a chance to really digest what you've put together, since you've spent a lot of work and time and effort on it. So yeah, thank you for joining me and giving us a little teaser.
Thanks again for having me. This was fun.
Absolutely. Well, if you've got anything else, any other insights, anything that you want to share, you're welcome to come back on the podcast anytime.
Ooh, I would love that. Thank you.
And while I'm thanking people, I'd like to thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in. And don't forget, if you like what you hear, you can catch new episodes of Tip of the Iceberg on your favorite podcast platform like Google, Spotify, Apple, and more. And that's a wrap for this edition of Tip of the Iceberg, brought to you by the Produce Market Guide, the Packer, and Farm Journal. And join us again soon for more industry insights. Thanks so much. Bye.